All right, intro, edit, 3, 2, 1. Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and welcome again to this week's program. We have some great features for you today. I think that whether you're a new shooter, and we're certainly glad to have all the new shooters, or you're an enthusiast with a lot of experience, I think you're going to have some things about our program that you're really going to enjoy. Let me remind you now, go ahead and get a pencil and a piece of paper. As you know, we have some important phone numbers and sometimes addresses that many of you would like to have, so please do that now if you would. Well, friends, here we are in probably the most dangerous time since the Civil War here in the United States. You know, we have fought some tremendous conflicts in other places and other peoples, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, recently Desert Storm. But friends, right now, the most dangerous enemy is that enemy within. We have people literally in Washington, D.C. and on local and state levels who want to socialize this country, who literally want to make a socialist country out of the United States of America. There's one way they can do it, the only surefire way they can ever do it, and that's to take the guns out of the hands of honest citizens like you and I. You know, in this crime bill, they're really not that concerned about the criminal, because if they were, they would do some different things. They would propose some different things. But friends, we understand what this is all about. They want to remove guns that many of their type have been around for nearly 100 years now. What's happened? We've had a breakdown of morality in our country, and we've got to do something about it. In reality, that's what's wrong. It's a breakdown in morality, a breakdown in the values, not only of the family level, but also of a government level. Look at some of these yahoos in Washington. Look what they're being accused of. And you know what, friends? Some of it's true. All of it may not be, but doggone it, some of it is true on what some of these people have done. Are they above the law? Well, what's happening here? Well, we've got to get control again by the decent people, by the honest people. And you know what? There's a large majority of us, the decent and honest citizen, over the others. You know, it only takes, and you've heard me say this before on the program, it only takes 5% of the general population to do just about anything we want to do. This is what has got to be done. We've got to stand up for our rights. We've got to stand up literally, not only and protect our country, we've got to take it back. Because now, friends, a lot of our government is in fact in the hands of what should be termed our natural enemies, and these are socialist people that literally, the Nazi socialist types. And you know, we have this book for sale, Gun Control, Gateway to Tyranny. You can read where part of the current gun laws have actually been taken from the 1938 Nazi rules and regulations, and we have that book for sale. Well, friends, something has got to be done. Now is an excellent time for you to join the Shootin' Show Gun Club and help us reach more and more people with our message as decent, honest American citizens and how we safely and properly use firearms. Well, that said, let's get another Shootin' Show underway. Edit, 3, second intro, 3, 2, 1. Now, hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, and welcome again to this week's Shootin' Show. We're so glad to have you. Kurt and I work awfully hard on this program, and if you're an enthusiast, I think you'll find some things interesting, hopefully some things you're going to learn. If you're a new shooter, well, we think there's certainly some things that, all right, let's do it again. Take 2, edit, 3, 2, 1. Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and welcome again to this week's program. We're so glad to have you. I think you're going to find some things interesting and entertaining, whether you're a new shooter, that we're so glad to have every new shooter absolutely watching our program, or if you're an enthusiast who has a lot of experience with and around guns. You know, the Shootin' Show is all about showing the American public how we as normal American citizens safely and responsibly use and treat firearms. And friends, that's why it's so essential you can join our Shootin' Show Gun Club today and help us reach more and more people all over America, because you know what? It has to be done. Right now, our country, our republic, is probably in the most dangerous time frame since the Civil War. Now, we've had a lot of altercations with other countries, with other peoples around the world. World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, recently Desert Storm. But you know, friends, right now we have an enemy within. We have the enemy in Washington, D.C., and some on the local and state levels around our country that literally want to change our way of life. They think that they know best. They think they're smarter than the rest of the American people, and they want to socialize America. Well, let me tell you what, we don't want their socialist, Nazi ideas imposed on us. You know, we have the book for sale here on the show, Gun Control, Gateway to Tyranny, where you can actually see where some of our current gun legislation or gun regulations have been taken from the Nazi rules and regulations from 1938. Friends, it's absolutely outrageous. We've got to do something about it today. You know, we cannot let these people in Washington, and you've heard me say this on the program before, if they were really concerned about the criminal, there would be some different things in the crime bill. Why take weapons away from us, the honest citizen, that have been available to us, some of them for nearly 100 years? It is absolutely outrageous. We cannot allow them to get away with it, and we're not going to do it. You know, we need that 5% of the general population. We need 12.5 million people who will stand up and say, enough is enough. We're not going to let you do any more. In fact, what we want to do is not only protect our country, our Constitution, our rights, we want to get some of them back, because some of our rights have literally been taken away. And friends, that is not going to fly, and I know that most of you out there watching will want to join us in our quest, literally, to help bring this country back into a line of normalcy and decency. Well, all that said, we have a great show for you. Let's start another shooting show. But we got it earlier. We got it earlier, Brother Bill. Got carried away looking at the target instead of my front sight. Let's see, Bill, we're going to try this. I don't know how this is going to work. We'll do the best we can. All right, edit, 3, 2, 1. Now friends, a while back we had showed you our H&R topper model in 12 gauge, and these are such neat guns. They're very inexpensive, they're very simple to operate, extremely reliable. One of the things that I like about it, and yes, notice my custom recoil pad here. Yeah, hey, it works. That's right, not fancy, but it works. Anyway, you have a little lever here beside the hammer, and you just push that lever down, and of course the gun will break open then, and it will eject the spent shell out of there. They're so very, very simple. They have a transfer bar type action, so if the trigger is forward, you can bang that hammer and the gun is still not going to go off accidentally, because the transfer bar is not between the hammer and the firing pin. A very important safety feature. And remember, you don't go down the trail or in the woods with your finger on the trigger of these guns. We never touch that trigger. We never put it in the finger guard unless we're ready to shoot the gun. Now, the only time we'll do that here on the show is if I'm demonstrating a dry fire technique or something like that. But then at that point we're demonstrating how the gun is fired. We never touch that trigger until we are ready to shoot the gun. Don't even put it inside the trigger guard. It's not necessary. So anyway, this is a very nicely made, inexpensive shotgun. And as we've talked before, the simpler and the less complicated sometimes really does have its virtue. Well, this is has a 27.5-inch barrel, I believe. Well, today we're going to look at this gun's, how about Big Brother? Not bigger brother, but how about Big Brother? Friends, this is a model 176 H&R, very similar to our 12 gauge here, but this is a 10 gauge, 3.5-inch Magnum shotgun. And you'd say, well, and take a look at the difference in the size of the two compared. One you can see from the picture, and also look at the difference in size from the 3.5-inch 10 gauge Magnum versus the 2 3/4-inch 12 gauge. There's a huge amount of difference, and you can see, one, the guns are quite a bit different in size. The 10 gauge here has a 36-inch barrel, and you know, you'd say, well, what in the world would you want a 10 gauge single shot for? Well, how about turkeys? In some parts of the country, turkey season either is open or will be shortly, and this is probably about as good a turkey gun where you're required to hunt with a shotgun, because a lot of hunters say on a turkey you're only going to get one good shot anyway. And believe me, this 36-inch barrel 10 gauge ought to reach out there with the best of them. Tell you what, with buckshot, and truthfully, I don't know if anybody is making a 10 gauge slug. I flatly don't know. Somebody may be. Somebody may offer them as a special loading component, and I stand to be corrected. If some of you viewers know about that, why don't you give me a call or write to me and tell me. Anyway, you talk about a massive amount of lead on a particular target. I would think these would be tremendous deer guns, just simply because you've got so much lead. And take a look at the difference in the two muzzles on these guns. You know, 12 gauge is certainly large, but the 10 is really in king size. With the modern ammunition we have, I would imagine that you could probably hunt turkeys or even extremely long-range geese, maybe high-flying geese. I would think 60, 70 yards probably. I've heard of people shooting them further than that, but that's a long way. I would think on a turkey certainly 40, 50 yards. And you know, what we try and do on a turkey is you have to hit the head. A body shot on a turkey is not going to, unless you're extremely close, and if you're 10 feet away, well, you're going to blow the bird into 1,000 pieces with one of these. But a body shot at the longer ranges is not going to reliably kill the turkey, so you have to shoot for the head. Well, we're going to take a shot at 40 yards with this gun in just a few minutes, and take a look and see how it does. What we have today, we have some number 4. It says, yeah, 3.5-inch nitro magnums. Yes. Well, to give you an idea of how this thing kicks or recoil, and they do come, in fact, it has sort of a Monte Carlo stock here, a very nicely figured stock. This gun, the good folks at Britain's loaned us this, and they have it retailing for about $150. It's not a new gun, but it is in excellent condition. Well, let's take a little comparison here for a moment. Since we have Baby Brother here, let's go ahead and shoot our 12 gauge, and realize this 12 gauge is a fairly light gun. It's since you don't have all the extra action parts from say you'd have on a pump shotgun or a semi-automatic, it's fairly light, and of course it handles so nicely. Well, let's take a look in recoil. We're going to use my shoulder as the guinea pig here. At this 12 gauge, we're shooting a extremely heavy 12 gauge load, double-aught buckshot. So let's take a look at recoil in my hands anyway. Yep. In a light gun, yeah, you know that. See how it ejects the empty shell there? You definitely know it went off. Well, let's step up to the plate with our old 10 here. Yeah, you start putting that cartridge case in, it goes in and in and in. All right. These guns, it shouldn't be that bad. I say that now before I've shot the gun, because the barrel is very large. It's a large diameter, and it is heavy, and I'm sure you'll need it. So, and let me remind you, friends, when you get a gun like this, if you're going to be shooting at the longer ranges, such as a turkey gun, like you would at a turkey, you need to go out to the range and pattern the gun. Go ahead and pattern it at 35, 40, 45, 50 yards and see where it's going to hit. See where the concentration of your shot, of your pellets are going to be. Because, you know, you owe it to yourself as well as to the game animal to hunt as responsibly and effectively as possible. You don't want to leave a wounded animal in the field, certainly not. And if you're going to take the time and spend the money on the hunting gear and your guns and your equipment and transportation, well, you owe it to yourself to know what your firearm's going to do. Anyway, let's take a look at the old 10 gauge here in action. All right. Yeah. Did you notice any difference? Yeah, it's I don't think you'd want to shoot this thing all day, but heck, from recoil alone, it'd take you a couple of seconds to get back on the target. I understand the Remington 10 gauge semi-automatic is not that terribly punishing a gun, but like I said, you wouldn't want to shoot this H&R all day. Well, let's take a look at it on our target out at 40 yards. All right, edit 3, 2, 1. My friends, what we have is I'm not going to say a reasonable facsimile, but I'll say a facsimile of a turkey here. And this would probably be your average size for certainly the wild turkeys you're going to find in this part of the country, maybe some others too. But remember, we're not that concerned about the body hits. What we want to do is we want to have some hits in that head, because that's what is going to make the turkey cease and desist right away. And these are such terrific game animals. As we said earlier, we just don't want to lose one. We want to definitely be effective in this particular head and neck area. So let's go ahead and put the target out here and see what it does at 40 yards. Well, let's see, Bill, let's make a little change here. Oops, wrong one. Big old turkey special here. Hey, baby. All right, we'll take this. And we'll clip. Now then. All right, we'll clip in along about right here, right there. Oh, doggone it. And we'll start our pan right here. Okay. And we'll be out. See how this works. Oops. All right, Bill, we can use this if you want to. We'll see how it works. Woo! Yeah. Woo! Trust me, 10 gauge, that's about all the shotgun I want. All right, edit. 3, 2, 1. Friends, we have our target here, and yes, I definitely, in fact, you could probably shoot turkeys even further than this. Let's take a close look at our target here. We can see, looking on the neck, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 21. The 21 or so holes here in the head and neck area. And of course, that's a number 4 size pellet. So I believe that's going to be plenty. Of course, you worked on the body pretty well, but at the extended ranges with the very poor ballistics of the round pellet anyway, but of course, they're certainly, I wouldn't want to get shot with them out there or anywhere else, but the thing is, you're going to have more than enough pellets to reliably kill the turkey and keep from wasting or losing a fine game animal. So, you know, I tell you what, if you're looking for a, shall we say, super powerful shotgun, well, the good news is these H&R single shots are relatively inexpensive. I think some of the semi-automatic 10 gauges are running about $1,000 or so, and when you can get in it for a couple of $100, I really don't know what they cost new. I'm going to assume that they're $200 or less. I don't know for sure. This one is being sold now. Britain's had $150 marked on this one, and it's really a nice example of what it is. Again, it's not going to be something that you're going to go out and shoot skeet with or shoot a lot all day or at one sitting, but for what it is, I tell you what, it's not too bad a concept. How about the H&R Harrington Richardson model 176 10 gauge? All right, edit 3, 2, 1. Friends, another gun we're going to look at today is something that is unusual. At least it's unusual to me. We have a couple of these guns in for testing. Right now they're available, and let's see. Hold up, Bill. Check model 52. All right, bear with me. Come back in. Here we go. All right, edit. Let's do that. 3, 2, 1. Now, friends, another gun we're going to look at today is something that is unusual to me. This is a Czech model 52, and these guns were originally chambered in 7.62 Tokarev. I believe that's what the box says, but a number of them to take 3. A little trouble today, Bill. Edit 3, 2, 1. Well, friends, another handgun we're going to look at today, or a handgun anyway, is this Czech model 52, and this is a new gun to me personally. I have not examined or shot many others of this particular type than this one. We got a couple in for testing, and it is an interesting handgun. The Model 52 was originally chambered in 7.62 Tokarev. Now I believe that's what is called a 7.6225, which is a long, essentially 30 caliber pistol cartridge with some pretty hot ballistics. Well, this particular gun and a number of others coming into the country have been rechambered for the standard old 9mm Luger, or 9x19. So I would like to try some of the 7.62 Tokarev and see how they performed. I've heard some interesting comments about that cartridge, but one, I'm surprised that this combination works as well as it does. You have a magazine, as you can see from the picture here, that has windows in the side. It holds 8 in the magazine, 1 in the chamber, for a total of 9. It is strictly a military type pistol. It is pretty much no frills, and in fact, let's take a closer look at it and let you see how it works. I could remember to cut the camera off. Edit 3, 2, 1. Now, friends, you can see it is a fairly comparable size to our government model Colt. I say comparable. It has about a 5-inch or so barrel there. It has, of course, a rather small ejection port, but it does work. I do want to caution you, this gun has only functioned 100% with the full metal jacket military type ammunition. We have not been able to get it to function reliably with the various hollow point other types of ammunition, but with the full metal jacket it has been reliable. Well, you can see how it works. It is a single action design, which we know it's empty. Of course, here is your hammer here, and here is your safety. Now when the safety is up, the hammer, nothing works, certainly until that safety is released. And it does not have a magazine safety. It does have a firing pin lock, which is connected to the trigger. And even if the hammer falls, if the trigger is not pulled to the rear here, the firing pin will not move. That is an interesting design. It is a roller locked type design. Let's go ahead and cock it. And here's how you take it down. You have this little piece here, and you pull it back, and I will get it, maybe. Edit. Let's see, how do we do this? Edit. Here we go. All right, edit. 3, 2, 1. Now, friends, we'll cock the hammer. Our safety is off. Let's take the gun down. You have a little tab here on both sides here. Just pull them down like so, and you'll slide the slide forward and up, and then of course the gun is in 2 pieces. And I said roller locked earlier. You can see the little rollers here. It doesn't work exactly like a Colt. The rollers keep the barrel and slide locked together for a short period of time until that pressure drops, and then the slide will continue rearward, ejecting the spent case and hopefully reloading another cartridge from the magazine. It is an interesting design. You'll see the spring here is around the barrel itself, so something that is a little different. Of course, to put the gun back, you just literally put it back on the slide here. Edit, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Now then, friends, put the gun back together. We'll just put the slide back on the frame, press down, and pull to the rear, and sure enough, it is back together. All right. Whew. Here we go. Edit. Come forward. Well, friends, let's go ahead and shoot the gun. You can see the windows in the magazine here, which is convenient to see how many cartridges you have left. We'll put the magazine in the base. Of course, the magazine catch here is on the bottom of the grip there, or the frame, right in the magazine well. Of course, to take the magazine out, you just pull that catch to the rear and pull it out. So, let's take a shot with it. Pull that slide all the way to the rear and let it go. Now, we do have some very, shall we say, rudimentary sights here, and our safety is off. line up our front sight on that steel plate, and all right. And some splash from one target there knocked the other one down. So, and we'll apply our safety, certainly. Edit. Oops. Now then, here we go. All right, edit, 3, 2, 1. You know, friends, one of the things that I was noticing earlier, you have to be sure and keep your thumb down on your grip there, especially if you're right-handed, because I had the safety, my thumb and the back of my hand under recoil would inadvertently put that safety on. The safety is off when it's down, so that's something to watch for when you're shooting these guns. As we were talking earlier, it is very comparable in size to our 45 ACP Colt. These guns come with a spare magazine, a cleaning tool there, and a nice flap holster. Apparently that's what they used in Eastern Europe, where these guns were, well, Czechoslovakia, that's where they're from. So it is something that a lot of us might want to add to our collection. They're not that terribly expensive. Certainly for a service type 9mm handgun, they're not expensive at all. I suppose they could be classed as military surplus. We shot the gun earlier from a bench, and the military rounds went into 5 rounds for about 3.5 inches at 25 yards, and the sights were fairly well regulated there. We just couldn't get other ammunition types to feed. I would be very concerned about whether I would use this gun as a home defense type gun, simply because if you're using the full metal jacket ammunition, you're going to have the tremendous penetration with not a lot of damage on an animal or a target, something you had to shoot. You have mostly penetration. It's going to zip right through walls and other things, and it might hurt someone in another part of your home or in another place, someone else's house that lived next door, whatever. But one thing you might try, you might single load or hand load one of the very fine Corbon 9mm jacketed hollow points, so you would at least have one very effective load or bullet that would hit your target. I would not depend on a magazine full of the better bullet profiles which are out there for our American type guns, and certainly the guns that we're used to seeing. But as far as feeding and function with the standard military type cartridge, it's been fine. We did load some another brand of ammunition, Federal Nyclads, with a profile very much like the military silhouette there on the bullet, and some of them fed, some of them didn't. But it is an interesting piece of equipment. It has a little recoil, but it's not terribly objectionable. So anyway, how about the Czech Model 52 rechambered to 9mm? Okay, second piece on this. Edit, 3, 2, 1. Now, friends, I don't know if I would carry this gun loaded or not. You certainly could. You can carry it cocked with the safety locked on. You could carry it hammered down, and we know this gun's unloaded. Yes. You could carry it hammered down with safety on. You could carry it hammered down, safety off, chamber empty. Probably, if I were going to carry this gun, I think I would probably go with chamber empty, because I'm just not that familiar with all the internal strength and weaknesses of this particular design. It is an interesting design, and again, with the full metal jacket hardball type ammunition, it has been reliable. Load it there. Czech Model 52. about right here. This should work. Okay. Edit 3, 2, 1. Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and welcome again to this week's program. We're so glad to have you, whether you're a new shooter or an enthusiast, someone who knows a lot about guns, because certainly we can use all the help, we can use every viewer we can possibly get. You know, what we have to do is let the rest of the American population know how we as normal citizens use and handle firearms. And let's do that again. This will be take 2, 3, 2, 1. Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and welcome again to this week's program. We're so glad to have you with us, whether you're an enthusiast who knows a lot about guns, or whether you're one of our new viewers, new shooters, people who want to learn about firearms. Certainly, we're so glad to have you. Let me remind you, go ahead and get a pencil and a piece of paper, because there are going to be some phone numbers, maybe some addresses and things you'll want to write down later on in the show. And we sincerely hope that you really enjoy today's program, certainly as much as we enjoy bringing it to you. You know, now, friends, is the time to contact your U.S. representative and your senator and let them know how you feel about the assault rifle or so-called assault rifle ban. What it really amounts to is a semi-automatic ban, because we can't buy assault rifles. The average citizen without a federal license cannot buy an assault rifle anyway. They're very, very expensive. And what they're really talking about is removing semi-automatic rifles like this SKS, this Colt 1911 pistol. This is what they really have in mind. And of course they're going to get to revolvers, and they'll probably get down to single shots and BB guns before it's over with. So friends, now's the time. We've got to contact them and let them know how you feel. Tell them that it's outrageous and ridiculous, and we're not going to stand for it. And let me say, this is a good time to join our Shootin' Show Gun Club. Help us reach more people all over this country. Friends, it's got to be done. Well, without further ado, let's let another Shootin' Show begin. Okay, edit 3, 2, 1. Okay, now the edit 3, 2, 1. Friends, we have a couple of things that I think you'll be interested in. Let me show you today. You see, this is a regular old SKS rifle that you've seen on the program a number of times. We've had a couple of stock configurations on it, and we have hit the one that I certainly like the best. You know, it's no longer legal to put the folding stocks on the SKS, so if you have a folding stock, I strongly advise you to pin it where it cannot be folded, because according to regulations now, you'll be breaking the law. Well, this is a synthetic stock made by Choate Machine and Tool, our good friends up in Bald Knob, Arkansas. And friends, you talk about one that makes the gun, we know this gun's empty. It makes the gun a whole lot prettier. You know, the old wood stocks that come on these guns typically are too short for a lot of us Americans. Americans tend to be quite a bit larger people in stature than the average Chinese person. And of course, that's who the guns were built for, was your Chinese infantrymen. And they have shorter arms. They're just smaller people than most of us here in this country. So as a result, the SKS stocks tend to be a little bit short for most of us out there for comfortable shooting. Well, this Choate stock, it also includes it is a synthetic, of course, the entire stock. It also includes a handguard cover that is synthetic and really does make the gun look nice. They have several products here we're going to show you that this is certainly not as much a commercial for Choate as it is a lot of us out there would really be interested in getting these products. We are selling this stock now through our Bullet Express mail order, and they're very inexpensive. I think it goes for $49.95. It is really a bargain. It is a very high quality piece. Those of you who have seen the Choate products know what I'm talking about. But it makes the gun so much nicer to handle and shoot. It's light. Apparently the compound, of course the SKS does not have a lot of recoil anyway, but it has a soft recoil pad on it, and it really does make the SKs a lot nicer to shoot. Of all the Chinese guns or the Chinese rifles I have yet to examine, the SKS is probably my favorite because I like the way they're made. They're very robust construction, and personally I think the reason that the Chinese are going to or getting these out of their arsenals is the SKs are more expensive to make than the AK type series. So we are faced with, they are a 10-round magazine, non-detachable magazine. But you know what? You can take one of these triple clips if you shoot 10 rounds, and remember that the 7.62 39 is just a little bit less than a 30-30 Winchester cartridge. So it is not a something to be overlooked. Certainly within its given ranges, as we've talked about on the program, they're excellent deer cartridges with the right bullet profile. These guns have typically been as reliable as daylight. In fact, I've never seen an SKS jam on full metal jacket ammunition. And of course there are a lot of very fine, such as the Noshler ballistic tip, there are a lot of very fine soft nose bullets out there that will function in these guns. And of course the good news is they're so inexpensive. Normally you can find an SKS all over the country for retail for around $150, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. But there are literally millions of guns out there like this, and Choate is making several different products. They make a scope mount for the SKS because a lot of people are going to use them as hunting rifles. We have this particular gun. A while back on the show, it went 5 shots into 3 1/4 inches with these somewhat crude open sights, which that's about as good as I can shoot an open sight gun. So with a scope on it, it really might show us something. So this is a really neat product, one that, and you know, if you see it here on the program, whether the sponsor is buying time or not, we don't recommend it unless we know that it works, period. Something else I think you'll be interested in, the little orange plastic follower. Of course you can see it there in your picture, but what this little follower does, it goes in the magazine on a repeating shotgun like this 870 Remington or the Mossbergs. They make them for several different shotguns, and what it does, it is an unbreakable follower for your magazine, and it also protects your spring. You know, if you're in a hurry and you tried to shove one too many rounds and you were excited and you push one up in there, you might bind your spring and then your gun would be out of action. It would be non-functional. So this is really an important little feature there, that orange follower. Plus it's easy to see. When the orange comes up there in your magazine tube, you can see it, and it lets you know that you are in fact empty. Another product they make that I really like is this magazine extension. Now this 870 Remington came where it would hold 4 of the 2 3/4 inch shells here in the magazine. Well, I extended my magazine capacity 3 more shells, and the good folks at Choate do make several different lengths. If you have a different barrel length, they do make several different length tubes. They're very simple. You can install them yourself. They have instructions telling you just what to do. So suddenly this went from a 5-shot shotgun to an 8-shot shotgun. And of course we have a little carrier here on the stock here. But these are really neat products from Choate. They're very reasonably priced. You can buy them from us through the Bullet Express. If you'd like a complete list of the Choate products, well, we're going to give you their 800 number. You can call them and get a catalog. But they're really fine people. And friends, I'll tell you what, things like this and some times to come, I mean, you don't know when you may need an 8-shot shotgun. It certainly would not hurt. So things from Choate Machine & Tool. All right. Here we go. Sigma series. All right, here we go. Edit 3, 2, 1. Now, friends, what we have today, this is a new gun for us. In fact, it's a new gun for Smith & Wesson. Bug in my throat, Bill. Toe. All right. Here we go. Take 2, 3, 2, 1. Well, friends, we're looking at a new gun today from Smith & Wesson, and let's talk about a departure from what we're used to seeing from semi-automatic pistols from Smith & Wesson. This is a model SW40F, known as the Sigma series, and it is in fact a 16-shot, 15 in the magazine, 40 caliber, polymer framed Smith & Wesson. And some of you are going to say, you know, that looks a lot like a Glock. Well, in fact, it does. In fact, I had some suspicion that Glock might be connected with Smith & Wesson on this gun, and I know this is a question some of you folks are going to be asking when you see it, but in fact they're not. I talked to the promo people at Smith & Wesson. They said no, this is in fact their own design. In fact, they have a number of different patents on this particular package, and it is very unique. It has a lot of features very similar to the Glock, but I tell you what, personally, I like the feel of the grip much better. It fits my hand much better. The Glock, although they're good guns, especially the 9mm, the Glock is a tremendously durable gun. A lot of people own them and carry them and like to shoot them, and they have proved to be very durable and functional. However, I personally, my hand doesn't fit the blocky grip of the Glock, but this is not blocky. It's round and very, I think the word is ergonomically, and I stand to be corrected, correct for the majority of the individuals who are going to shoot these for their hand. It really is an impressive performer. It has functioned flawlessly over the number of times we've shot it. In fact, this is, and I've said, how many times have I said in fact? Edit, come back up, edit, 3, 2, 1. This is probably the most accurate 40 caliber semi-automatic that I have yet to encounter. It shoots the Corbin ammunition extremely well. Of course, that's one advantage to the Corbin ammunition. You can get a box of Corbin and literally load this gun, and the 40 S&W in the Corbin bullet approaches 357 Magnum in power, and that's no joke. This gun loaded with Corbin, 16 Corbins in this Smith & Wesson Sigma series, and you've got a handful. You really have a lot of power in a small package, or certainly a medium-sized package. It's comparable in size, in fact a little bit smaller than our 1911, but due to the polymer frame it's quite a bit lighter. It has a trigger that looks or feels like a what we're used to as far as a curved trigger, but it is in fact and let me do that over. All right, edit, 3, 2, 1. The trigger is what we're used to as far as the curve, but it is a two-piece trigger, and it has some sort of little safety block there. The trigger would not be, or would not function until the bottom part there, and we know this gun's empty, until the bottom part of the trigger guard was properly stroked with the finger. So it is unique. We'll take a closer look in just a moment, but all the controls are what we're used to. The magazine release is on the side of the grip here, similar to our 1911 and most other semi-automatics that are popular in this country. The entire bottom part, and we'll look at that in just a moment, is polymer, of course, with a steel top. The barrel is stainless steel, and then the slide is coated with an anti-corrosion process there to make it somewhat impervious to sweat or for water as general, keep it from rusting, in other words. Anyway, we do have a 15-round magazine, and let's make a quick comparison. We have, of course, to load the gun, we'll pull that slide all the way back. We have our Pro timer on here, and let's do a little shooting with it. And let's time, in fact, let's go 5 shots and see what our time is as compared to our 45 ACP. And because that's what all semi-automatics essentially are judged against, is our standard Colt government model. And I tell you what, I've said it before, this gun was designed, or the design was finalized pretty much in 1911. There have been a few modifications like the arch mainspring housing on the A1 models, but I'll tell you what, John Browning just about got it right in 1911. And every semi-automatic that comes along is, of course, invariably compared to the 1911. Now, what we have here is no external safety. It operates very much like a revolver. The hammer is not, or the striker here, you don't have an external hammer. The hammer is not cocked. The trigger finishes cocking the striker there and releases it. So I suppose you'd have a, I don't know if you'd call it a double action or single action. It, again, it's very similar to the Glock in the way it works, even has a similar feel in the trigger mechanism, but it's not really cocked all the way. You have to complete the cocking stroke, and then it will trip and release the striker into the primer. But you don't have an external safety, so a lot of police officers today, and a lot of citizens too, are somewhat uncomfortable with what we have come to be used to as double action semi-automatic pistols. And personally, I don't think the beginning shooter should even look at a double action semi-automatic, because what happens, you have that long first shot, long trigger pull on the first one, and then it reverts to single action trigger pull, which is a much shorter, much lighter trigger pull. And we've heard of a number of, especially police officers, who may take the gun out and shoot it, become excited, and forget that the gun is cocked on the double action semi-automatics, and they put the gun back in their holster, and it doesn't take much to trip that trigger if it's in the single action mode on a lot of these double action guns, and bang, and they shoot themselves in the leg. And of course, there's never a good time for that to happen, but imagine if you're in a firefight, or if you're trying to arrest somebody and your gun goes off and shoot yourself in the leg. That's a no-no. So, and especially, let's consider an excited homeowner, someone who had to take the gun out for home defense, or to shoot maybe a wild animal or a rabid animal or something on their property, and they went ahead and shot the gun, and they're all excited. They forget to decock it, and this is something that is so important. You know, we need to prevent every accident we probably can. There's never a good time for accidents. So that's why we always wear these shooting glasses. We always wear hearing protection here on the range. There's just no need in leaving the shooting range hurting anywhere. Anyway, back to our Sigma series. It does operate like a revolver. When you release that trigger, it becomes safe. Remember, don't pull the trigger, gun won't go off. Don't pull the trigger, gun won't go off. So it is a thoughtful and a well engineered package here that we're seeing. It is comfortable to shoot. Hey, I'm impressed. I think that a lot of police officers, now personally, if you pick up, say, one of the Glocks, again, the Glock's a good gun, we're not knocking them at all, but if you pick up a Glock, you're probably going to be more comfortable with this Smith & Wesson grip, because it is just more comfortable, I think, for the average hand. Smith & Wesson is about to sell, of course, they're selling everything they can make, I understand now, but they're going to sell every last one of these they can make, because if they're all as functional, if they turn out to be as durable and reliable as it looks like these guns are, they're going to have a bunch of these in police officer holsters. See, this was an excellent gun, or is an excellent gun, for transition from a revolver to a semi-automatic. And if you work with the gun and learn to use this trigger, I think you're going to be surprised at the speed and accuracy you can shoot it with. Well, let's compare it for 5 rounds, compared to our new Sigma Series Smith on our Pro Timer here, as compared to our 45 ACP. Let's do that right now. Go ahead and get in position, punch our timer. All right, 1.22 seconds, and we have an excellent group there, 3 in one hole and 2 right here. I think you're probably not going to be quite as fast as, say, with a single action Colt, but it's certainly going to at least be as fast as a revolver. Same drill with our Colt. Get in position, push our button on our timer. Well, Yeah, I have some lead reloads. A little smoke there. Certainly equivalent loads though to the standard 230 grain ball ammunition. In fact, the good folks at Corbon, they're having to ship to their customers first. If that's any comfort to you, Corbon is making ammunition as fast as they can. There's such a tremendous demand for Corbon. In fact, I've run out here on the show. I've got to go buy some myself. Anyway, so our group here with our 45 is about 1.5 inches, and we realize, yes, we're right very close to our target. The group is a little smaller, and that was 1.16 seconds, so that's just the speed I'm running at today. So we were a little bit faster with our 45 ACP. However, a lot of people out there who are not familiar with semi-automatic handguns are really going to like this one. Edit. Whoops. Edit. 3, 2, 1. Now, friends, here you can see our Sigma series pistol, and as I was talking about earlier, you can see the very nice contours. And of course, Smith & Wesson, their quality control and their semi-automatic pistol is awfully good at this time, and we anticipate with this manufacturing award they've won that it's going to be even better. You can see the excellent 3-dot sights here, and as we were talking about a little earlier, we can get a look at this 2-piece trigger. It's got a little hinge right here, and that's different. And here's a little safety piece, and for the gun, and we know this gun's empty. Yes, in fact, you have to press the trigger for this little piece right above the tip of my finger there. See, it'll go back so the trigger can go on and fire. So it is a striker, as we talked about. It's on half cock, or not completely cocked, the striker there. It is really an interesting system that they have. Well, let's take our magazine out. Of course, here's your magazine button right here. Edit. All right. Edit. 3, 2, 1. Now then, friends, to take the pistol down, what you'll need to do, and we'll check, double check, triple check, we know this gun's empty. Go ahead and pull the trigger and grasp the slide a little bit and pull it back just about 1/4 inch. And you see this little thing right here, little lever, there's one on each side. Pull them down, and then you can just slide the slide off, in fact, of the frame. And of course, this is plastic, has metal inserts here to for the slide to have bearing surface on. Of course, here's your barrel, there's your recoil spring. Very, very simple. Should be very easy to maintain, very easy to clean. Now then, to put the gun back together, just slide it back on. All right, edit. Edit, come back. All right, here we go. And just pull it back and go ahead and pull it. And there, now it's back in operational position. All right, friends, let's take a shot with the gun. We're going to load. We have a loaded magazine here somewhere. Let's take a look. And be sure, and it's a very nicely thought out magazine package. You have a little pad here on the end to aid in seating it. So let's get centered on our target here. And again, to load the gun, pull that slide all the way back and let it go. Now then, going to put that, line up the 3 dots, put them on our steel plate there, and pull the trigger through. Okay, edit, whoops, here we go. Ooh, wait a minute, Bill. Now then, edit, 3, 2, 1. Friends, as I was saying, I think that if you worked with this gun, you could really become proficient with it. It is still a semi-automatic pistol, and if you're going to learn to use a semi-automatic pistol, what you have to do is go out to the range and get a minimum of 150 or 200 rounds, better 200 rounds, and run it through your gun, regardless of what kind of gun it is, and be sure that the ammunition you have will function in the gun. Some of these semi-automatics, now this one, this new Smith & Wesson here is probably going to function with just about anything you can stuff in the magazine. But some of the semi-automatics out there, especially this surplus material, these surplus guns coming back in the country or coming in our country for the first time, a lot of them will only function with full metal jacket ammunition, so you need to go out there and try it. So what we're going to do, here's a little demonstration here. We have another manufacturer, I say another, and we'll have to edit. Okay, edit, 3, 2, 1. Friends, what we're going to do, we have, and you hear me talk about Corbon and realize that long before Corbon began to advertise with our program, we shot Corbon ammunition. I carried it in my own personal guns simply because you have velocity and quality that so far I have not been able to get from any other manufacturer. And let me just show you the difference. What we have here is another manufacturer's high-performance bullet profile versus a Corbon, regular 40 S&W Corbon. And as you've heard me say before, and I think we said it earlier in this test here, if you really want to turn this gun into the best it can in fact be as far as a defensive type gun, even a hunting handgun for small game, and believe it or not, this gun's going to be accurate enough to do it, which is a departure. Most of the 40s we've tested on the program have not showed good accuracy. Typically they just haven't. But let's take a look. We have a couple of water jugs out here. We're going to look at a little energy transfer demo here. We're going to use the other manufacturer's 40 S&W cartridge, and then we're going to shoot the second target, or the one on your left, with the Corbon. All right, the water jug on the right, we're going to shoot with the other manufacturer's 40 S&W cartridge. Okay, didn't do a lot of damage, but now let's check out the Corbon, the water jug here on your left with the Corbon ammunition. Need I say more? I mean, yeah, I think it's a rather dramatic comparison there. Anyway,